Hi folks, so in this video what we're going to do is we're going to model here this little model house exercise, okay, on Solidworks, okay. It's going to introduce us to shelling, some extrudes, X-cuts, okay, different kind of features and obviously using different kind of sketching tools as well. And it's a good little exercise, okay, to introduce when we're doing Solidworks. So we're going to get cracking on that there now. So what we're going to do, just reading the information, this is one of the older projects from the old T4 website, but it's still very useful today, obviously, in the newer model or in the newer versions of SolidWorks. So it says here, what we're going to do is we're going to start off down here. It says here, when the geometry of this model house is analysed, it becomes apparent that the main body and roof can be extruded from the right plane. So essentially what they're saying is we're going to be sketching on the right plane to make this shape here, and then we're going to extrude it. So it says here, create a sketch on the right plane similar to the following one. So from the origin, which you can identify here by the red arrows, we're going to do a center line up, and then we're going to do a line out, a line up, and then an angular line to the top point of the center line. There's no dimensions applied, and then it's saying, once we have that done, use mirror entities to select the lines to be mirrored. So we'll select this one, this one, and this one to mirror it about this axis to create this sketch, which we will then apply the dimensions to. So that's where we're going to start off with, okay? So, starting off in SolidWorks, File, New, Part, click OK. And we want to start our sketch this time on the right plane, okay? So in orthographic projection, if you think the front plane is the vertical plane, the top plane is the ground or the horizontal plane, and then the right plane will be known as the end vertical plane. So I'm going to select right plane, sketch. And automatically when I click on sketch, it's going to open up the right plane, so I'm looking perpendicular to it. So using my sketch tools, I'm going to go here to my line command, select the center line. Starting on the origin, click, let go, drag up, just make sure it's up high enough, click. Now deselect by pressing escape. Okay, now I want to go back to my line command. This time, instead of a center line, I want a normal line. So I select line. Now, starting on the origin again, I'm going to click on the origin, drag out, let go, and then click again. Now I'm going to do a line up to about here, click, and then finally up to here, click. And the line tool is still active, so press escape. The top left hand of your keyboard, press escape, ESC deactivates the tool. Now what I want to do is, with this actual object here, or sorry, sketch I should say, I want to mirror that sketch so that it's similar on the opposite side. So I'm going to go into my sketch tab. I'm going to go over here to my mirror entities, select this, and now in the entities to mirror section, I'm going to select these three lines. This one, and this one. Notice how it says line 4, line 3, line 2, and then in the mirror about box, I select the box, I have to select the axis line here, and it says line 1, because that's the way I did it, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. And you can see here, it's after mirroring the image over on the opposite side, except that. Now that I have done that, what I want to do is I want to apply dimensions. So in the sketch tab, select smart dimension. I'm going to give this line here, the overall line, I want it to be 100. Managed to get it very close. I want the height of this line to be 70 millimeters. And I want the angle between this line and this line to be 120. So to do an angle, select the line, come down here, you can see it's 1050, and then select this line, and it'll give you an angle between the two. And I want this to be 120. And there you go. You can see the sketch is now fully defined. It's gone from blue to black, and you'll note down here it's fully defined. So that's the first thing we wanted to do. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to select Extrude Boss Base. So select Extrude Boss Base, mid-plane is our condition, and then we want to set the distance for the width of it to be 160 and select OK. Okay, and it says the mid-plane option is the most appropriate in this exercise, as it can be used to create the body, the roof, and protruding side windows. And we'll get onto that part later on, why we use mid-plane. So in my features tab, which is where I'm going to go from 2D to 3D, I want to select Extrude Boss Base. So select this. Now note here, our sketch is in the middle. Notice the black lines there in the middle. They're in the middle of the object, and you can see they're right in the middle. That's where my sketch is, because my condition at the moment, luckily enough for me, sometimes it comes in as blind. Now note when it's blind, it'll come in one direction. It can either go this way, if I click the arrow, it can go the opposite way as well. Okay, now I don't want two directions, I just want the one. So you can see here, you could select direction 2 as well, and it'll go out the other way. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is, I'm going to, instead of blind, I want to make sure it's on mid-plane, and then just set the distance here, not 13, I want it to be 160. And you can see here my sketch is in the middle, but because it's 160, it means I've gone 80 to the right and 80 to the left. And I'm going to accept that with the green arrow. And there we go. That is the first part of our house. Now I'd always advise you to rename the feature, okay? And what we're going to call it is house body. So if we click on Boss Extrude 1 over here and then press F2, we're going to call it house body. Accept. Click anywhere on the screen to accept. And there we go. Very important to get into the habit of renaming your features, because that's what you're going to have to do in your DCG projects as well. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add on the roof. So in regards to the roof, what we're going to do, just going back out here, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. It says roofing the house. Select the right plane from the feature manager design tree. View normal to. Now in this new version of SolidWorks and the old one which I'm reading from here, sometimes you have to click normal to. I'll show you about that in a second. But what we're going to do is create a sketch using dimensions shown and note the location of the sketch in relation to the top of the previous one. So essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a roof on top of the house. So essentially we've already got this edge here. What we want to do is we want to do a sketch that's kind of coming out, up. So it's going out, I think it's 5 millimeters, up 5 millimeters. And then this line here is parallel with this line. So there's a couple of ways you could go about that. I'm going to do half of it and then mirror that half over to the other side. So that's what we're going to do. So in my SolidWorks area here, I want to sketch on the right plane once again. Now note when I select the right plane, see how it's in the middle? I'm going to be doing my sketch in the middle. So select right plane and sketch. Now in this new version of SolidWorks, I'm using SolidWorks 2022, it will automatically bring me in looking perpendicular to the right plane, looking straight at it like a sheet of paper. Sometimes if it wasn't like that, okay, and you're in a sketch now, you could press the space bar button and then this normal to button is here. And when you select that, it will automatically bring you in perpendicular to it, okay, just in case you're using an older version of SolidWorks. Now what I'm going to use is I'm going to click on my sketch tab, and what I'm going to click on is, first of all, I'm going to click convert entities, really handy tool. Instead of actually drawing a line, if I just select convert entities, I just want to convert this line, click on that line and accept. It allows me just to draw a line straight away. Convert entities, I could also have just grabbed the line here and drawn it from here to here, but I just use convert. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to use a center line. So on the line tool, I'm going to select center line, and I'm going to do a center line up something like that. Don't care how high it is at the moment, okay? Then I'm going to go back into my sketch tool. Now I'm just going to have a normal line. I'm going to do a line out, up, and then maybe here like this. And I'll actually focus, make sure you don't get the middle of the center line or the top. I'm actually going to focus on having it something like that. Don't worry at the moment. I know it's meant to be parallel. Press escape to deactivate your tool. I know this edge is meant to be parallel with this edge. We will focus on that in a second. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some dimensions. So in my sketch tab, smart dimension, this line here, I'm going to select it, drag down, I want it to be 5. I also want the height of this line to be 5. Now note here, it seems to be getting there already, but instead of making the height here maybe 5 or something like that, what I want to do is I want to make this line parallel with this line. So this line is a fixed line. So what I want to do is I'm going to select this edge, and then after that hold down the shift key, which is the arrow button above the CTRL at the bottom left, and then select this line. Note that it's going to give me a lot of things I can do here, but the one I want to select, these are relations. It means that they have a relationship between the two lines. I want these lines to be parallel, so I'm going to select parallel. When I select the parallel, note that this line is after jumping up into position. Now I can accept that with the green arrow. Also note that the line is now gone from blue to black. That means it is fully defined down here. So now that I've done that, I want to mirror that sketch over to the opposite side. So I'm going to go into my sketch tools, sketch tab, mirror entities, really helpful. Lines I want to mirror, I'm going to select. So remember to select this one as well. This one, and this one. Okay, all of them are selected. There are 4 lines. Now the line I want to mirror about is this one. And when I do that, note that it is coming in on the opposite side. Select the green arrow to accept. Now I'm going to rotate it until it's in a 3D position. To rotate, press the wheel on your mouse, okay, and hold it down. Note that the sketch is in the middle of the object. This is why it was helpful to do our sketch on the right plane and use mid plane to extrude. So what we're going to do now, if I just refer to the sheet, select extrude boss base, once again mid plane, but this time we're going to set it, remember last time we did 160, this time we're going to set it to 170, okay? And it says here, note the overhang, so you'll see this now in a second. So features, extrude boss base, the mid plane is already selected because that's the last one we used. Now, as I said previously, if it was blind, you can see it just goes in one direction, and obviously I could change that by flipping this button here, and it'll just go the other way. But we don't want that, we want mid plane, and instead of 160, note here it's going to be the exact same length that was previously there, we want 170. 170. That means we're going to have a little note there, we have a little overhang. See the way it's gone over there on both sides? When I've done that, what I'm going to do is I am going to accept that with the green arrow. And there we go. There is the object, okay, or sorry, the roof completed. Now I'm going to rename that feature and rename the feature, and I'm going to call it house roof. So click on it, press F2, and I'm going to call this house roof. There we go. So that's the roof portion done.